IVM.
Hi, I'm Rohan Joshi, and on my podcast, the show about crypto, I've been having some pretty cool conversations with industry experts about what exactly cryptocurrency is and what makes it so exciting. If you haven't already, please check it out on the IVM Podcasts Network. Now, a quick shout out to my fellow crypto heads. We've got a listener survey going on, which will take not more than 10 minutes of your time to fill out. So please check the link in the description and help me out by filling it up. Don't forget to tune into a show about crypto on the IVM app and wherever you get your podcasts from.
I don't drink chai and coffee. And I lost my parents. And there were middle class Punjabi family all there, and everybody's crying, talking, figuring it out. I was 23 and I just went up to my mama ji and said, "Aap mere liye limca mangwa doge? Dehydration sa ho raha hai." And they said, "Tera dimag kharab hai, tu limca mang rahi." Matlab, it's okay if they're having chai in every 20 minutes, but I can't have limca. So all those observations make part to the films, and I think our writer-director Umesh did a fantastic job with these anecdotes, but particular anecdote of having junk, of just wanting to have junk. I don't know what to do with so much grief. I want to have a Coke. I want to have a limca. I had asked for a limca and मुझे डांट पड़ गई थी अपने मामा जी से.
Hello and welcome to the Filter Koffee Podcast. The business of entertainment has probably changed more in the last 5 years than it did for decades before that. And streaming platforms like Netflix have had a lot to do with that. More than anything else, they have disrupted the economics of cinema, especially in a country like India. Stories that were previously completely unlikely to see the light of day in a theatre in your city are today getting an audience from across the world. This leveling of the playfield has helped many new creators to be heard and for many important stories to be told. On this Women's Day, it was my absolute pleasure to speak to 3 powerful, inspiring women who are changing this narrative in India. Guneet Monga, the poster girl of independent cinema, who brought us generation-defining cinema like Lunchbox, Gangsta Wasepur, and more recently, Bechdel. Ashwiny Iyer Tiwari, the creator and producer behind films like Bareli Ki Barfi, Neel Batte Sannata, and Ankahi Kahaniyan. And Sophia Paul, the rock star producer of Minnal Murali, who actually stormed into the scene with another culture-defining film, Bangalore Days. On this live episode that we recorded in collaboration with Netflix, I spoke to them about women telling women's stories, how conviction on a script works for each of them differently, and how platforms like Netflix are breaking the shackles on storytelling, especially for Indian women. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Filter Koffee Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita discuss the rise of audio erotica and leadership dynamics at Indigo Airlines. Do you love board games? The Simplified Gang have a fun chat with Zain Memon, creator of the political strategy board game Shasan. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk analyze India's response to rare diseases on the occasion of Rare Diseases Day. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina explains the concepts of asexuality and aromanticism. And on the Musafir Stories, traveler Tanisha Guin explores West Bengal's hill station Mirik with Saif and Faiza. So, on a personal note, I wanted to let you all know that this week marks the 7th anniversary since I started IVM. I'm eternally grateful to the team we have here, especially Kavita Rajwade and Tejas Sringarpure, who have been here since the beginning. They've seen the struggles, our eventual acquisition by Pratilipi, and our continued struggles to make podcasting a large and thriving part of the media industry. We have the best hosts in the world, and I have to say that I'm so glad and so grateful that they have chosen to work with us. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to you, the millions of folks who have heard or watched our content. All I can say is, you ain't seen nothing yet. I hope you join us as we continue this journey. In the meanwhile, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening to. You can also check us out on YouTube. To get a list of all of our channels, you can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where you can go to all the channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, Max Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome to this special episode of the Filter Koffee Podcast presented by Netflix on the occasion of Women's Day. And I cannot have a better panel, for this discussion than what we have right now. It's such an honor to have, the three of you who are shaping pop culture as we speak in this country. Guneet, I wanted to start with you. You're the poster girl of independent cinema in this country, right? I'll tell you a story. I'm from advertising, and there's a girl in my team. She's about 25 or so, and she's leaving the organization. And I asked her, what is the dream? And she said, Guneet is the dream. I want to.
Can I please hire her? Please introduce her to me.
I will. But, given your vantage point, and you've been looking at content from India in the midst of the world's eyes, right? How is the world looking at Indian content, especially of the last 10 years?
Thank you, firstly, for the lovely start of this conversation. I think the journey has been, last decade's journey has been of self-discovery. And what do you do with so much opportunity, but lack of being able to enter freely, also to be able to explain what I do as a profession? Because given the system that we work in, given the industry that we work in, it's producers are seen to be financiers. Producers are seen to be builders and financiers and people who have businesses and who have access to money. But I have never had my own money, but just intend to content. And also that is so subjective that it is a constant discovery, it's a constant work. So the exposure that one has had about how the world works, how to match India, is somewhere between that where I exist. It's so difficult to explain what it is because it is so intuitive. It is so exploratory. And then somewhere magic happens. You don't really start a film thinking, we'll go to the Oscars. But you do start the film thinking that, okay, with my full intention, I'll show up every day. I'll protect the inherent value of this film and see the end of it. And we work in long format. So it takes 2 years to actually put something out there. So for 2 years, it's not instant gratification. And after 2 years, you're like, did we land? Did we not land? Half forgetting our, you get so colored seeing the same thing every day, so your judgment of that is half, affected by the same material. So I think traveling, going to film festivals, attending a lot of markets. I'm a geek in the film business world. I read through of all international independent films. So I know comparables at the back of my hand or in my head where this can go or where that film went and why can't we. I reach out to producers, I write mails, I don't fear asking, I share ideas, I do reach out to so many people and I was like, I'm happy to do this conversation professionally, online, and I've been doing this for last 15 years. So just to even understand who I am and how I can use the best out of the opportunity that we are in India. So even to define what I do, that I'm an independent producer, constantly looking for content, then looking for directors, or sometimes directors reach out with content because, how do I add value to anyone's journey on where material can go and where we can land it? And that's not even a confirmation. It's a journey. It's more like, let's try, but let's be excited about taking this far every day and being a partner in it every day and, being seen as a filmmaker or have a voice on the table on where this piece of material, be it a short, be it a documentary, be it a feature, be it a series, be it a short doc, how far can we take any piece of material has been my constant intention every morning when I wake up on everything that I work, and somewhere it adds up. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm going to remember geek of the film world because it shows in the way you're analyzing all the moving parts of this, right? Sophia, I just want to bring you in at this point. We're talking about cinema of the last or content of the last 15 years. And I think you can't have that conversation without talking about what's happening in Malayalam cinema, right? It's probably the new wave that all of us are going through. And in a way, I feel it all started with Bangalore Days. At least for the audience, it sort of feels like that, which is also your first film. How do you feel about what is happening in that world right now? And particularly with the way women are portrayed, especially in Malayalam cinema. How do you see that?
Yeah, like there is a lot of change happening in Malayalam film industry, and I think the hero is the content of the film. Like the writers are creating, and even like each day, even when I hear the means like the scripts, when the writers narrate to me, I say, wow, so it's like different, So even for the female-oriented means movies we see there, it's nice to see. Like a female movie is also getting male lead means same thing like that success. So like I know like everyone now looks into Malayalam also, like when they see the content what we are creating over there. Yeah, and that is how the even our movie happened. Minnal Murli, the content was very different, and like yeah, even I now I means I love to create more movies like with different content, because I'm hearing like that people are so creative in our industry. Yeah, that is what happening. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. We'll come back to Minal Murli in just a bit. There's so much to talk about that film. It's easily one of my favorites of the last few months. But Ashwini, since we're talking about women in cinema, you're from the advertising world and you're used to looking at market segments, men, women, etc. Right? There is this very popular phenomenon that I was reading about, which is called as the Bechdel Test, which is basically the origin of that is in a comic strip, but it's two women talking, and they're saying that listen, I'll only watch films which pass this test, and the film needs to have two women characters. They should have a name, and they need to speak to each other about something that is not a man. And the comic strip ends by one of them saying, "The last film I saw was The Aliens." Right. The reason I was bringing that up is, women telling women's stories is so different, right? And it changes the perspective of that. And you've created films like Bareilly Ki Buffy, which are mainstream films, but one can tell that the point of view is so different, isn't it? What difference do you see, happens when women tell stories about women, or for that matter, about the world itself?
I feel it does make a lot of difference. First of all, in the time with the kind of point of view they have and what lens they're seeing the character who is played by a woman. For example, I'll just give you a very, very small example. I'm shooting my web series right now, and there was one scene, it was a very short scene where one of my assistant directors said that, okay, she can be in the kitchen and she'll be cooking there, and from there she can look out. And when the conversation is happening between these two men, she can be hearing that conversation, and then she can just come out. So, and at that point of time, my first reaction was, why she needs to be in the kitchen? Why always that, like when two men are talking, why she needs to be in the kitchen? Why can't she just stand there near the fridge and hear the conversation? So I think it's up to us on how we place the narrative and how do we tell the story. So I do feel that cinema does have a reflection on what plays in society, but cinema also has the ability to change the point of view and how we think as humans in a society. And that is the power of cinema, that you can change the narrative and bring out new experiences. So for me, it has always been that maybe the woman has to go to work and she comes back late home, and there her husband making tea for her was come in late, and that could be a great ad film rather than what is happening. I recently saw one ad film which I really liked, which was a mother was playing a game with the son, and therefore she has ordered food from outsiders because she doesn't want to leave that game. Ideal situation that would have never happened about 3-4 years ago, but now this is a kind of narrative, and therefore some creative person is sitting there and thinking of that idea, and one business head has gone and sold that idea to a client who has bought into that idea. And that's a chain reaction where we as storytellers, we have to change the narrative and get everyone around us to be in sync with the kind of narrative we want to say. And of course, there will be a lot of ifs and buts, and because we have to also think pan India and also see that, okay, maybe this doesn't happen here, but it can happen here. But there are the little changes which we make, and that's what we see. And from saris to salwar kameezes to jeans and kurta, and now dresses, that itself is a huge leap.
Right. Guneet, we are talking about the freedom with which women can tell women's stories, or for that matter, any story. Platforms like Netflix have a lot to do with that change, isn't it? Today, a film like Bareli Ki Barfi or Minnal Murali is right there on everybody's screen, right next to, say, a Money Heist or a Squid Game. How do you see the impact of this, especially from a content discovery perspective?
No, absolutely. When you talk about the pop culture or awareness, I think everything is added up. The shift from Me Too movement, the tests that you spoke about, the Gina Davis Research Institute doing amazing work, and even all of us figuring out that less than 5% women in India are filmmakers, are directors behind the camera. The stats are so against the presence of women in decision making roles that is a fact, and that is also the need today. Celebrate, talk, and dedicate a day so that this becomes a norm and it becomes normal as we go on. And coming down to more and more women on screen definitely helps shape shift, or talking about any niches, be it through caste or through breaking down all these stereotypes that have been कि ऐसे ही होता था, from a certain sect of people are supposed to serve, a certain sect of people are supposed to cook, and somebody, and little things, even parenting, so I think across the board, this conversation is happening, and I think every generation has a good fight to fight, and then the next one comes and takes the leap forward. So this is the conversation right now, and platforms like Netflix help a lot because they speak to so many millions and millions of people across the country and across the world, across 190 plus countries. And when you see a film that, I actually personally don't think films change societies, but I do feel they start a conversation. And that is what impacts conversation in every home, across generations, across cultures, across languages. Today, I know that my friends' parents are seeing French and Korean and Malayalam films on subtitle with their Hindi voiceover on, dubbed in Hindi. So many different sects of people are consuming content and are figuring out that it's okay, same-sex marriages. It's okay for, women to be in position of powers. And that is where conversations start. And I think it's a reflection of our society, which is really important. And having large footprint and marketing dollars behind it is where those conversations last. Like my latest film with Netflix was Paglet, and a large part of conversation was that it's okay, she was arranged married, decision made by the parents, and it's okay, she doesn't feel like crying on the loss of her newly married husband. She's figuring it out, she's figuring her emotions out, but she's expected to howl and cry and oh my god, बिचारी रह गई. नहीं रही वो, उसके अपने सपने हैं, पूछ तो लो. So these conversations get started, and then in years to come, I hope it becomes easier, and we're, continuing telling more and more, finding more and more things out there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I love the journey of what happened in Paglet, and my favorite is when she's craving for potato chips in the middle of all of this is going on.
It's actually part of my life. It's actually a real life story.
Oh wow!
But I was not married before, but I did go through a huge personal loss, and I remember that day. It's an anecdote. I don't drink chai and coffee, and I lost my parents, and there were middle class Punjabi family all there, and everybody's crying, talking, figuring it out. I was 23, and I just went up to my mama ji and said, "आप मेरे लिए लिम्का मंगवा दोगे? Dehydration सा हो रहा है." And they said, "तेरा दिमाग खराब है, तू लिम्का मांग रही." मतलब it's okay if they're having chai in every 20 minutes, but I can't have limka. So all those observations make part to the films, and I think our writer-director Umesh did a fantastic job with these anecdotes, but particular anecdote of having junk, of just wanting to have junk. I don't know what to do with so much grief. I want to have a Coke. I want to have a limca. I had asked for a limca, and मुझे डांट पड़ गई थी अपने मामा जी से.
That moment really was something that I've never seen, in cinema in the recent past. Sophia, Guneet spoke about large footprint and marketing dollars, and Minnal Murali, this fantastic film, which of course you had a lot of challenges in the making of it because of the pandemic, and it would have been wonderful to watch this film, in Cochin, or for that matter in Bangalore in a theater, but that was not to be. And then it got released on Netflix. But on one hand, that is must have been slightly disappointing for you. But on the other hand, there must have also been a very different reach for the film, right? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, the movie was made for theaters only. But due to this lockdown and COVID situation, then we had to go for it because it was almost that time 2 years and more. The movie was made. It was a long journey because we had so much challenges in between. And then we thought we'll go with partnership with Netflix. But that I felt that was a good decision what I made because the movie reached worldwide. The promotions the Netflix did for this movie, it was a huge thing. Like we were very proud to have such a reach for our movie. That's what Netflix did for Minnal Murli. Yeah, and like now we don't have that regret for not releasing in theaters because if it was in theaters, we would not have maybe, but that situation was not good for theaters. That's the thing. So for the partnership with Netflix, like Minnal Murli has had great success. Yeah, worldwide. See, people all over the world watched it. And even I was so surprised, like I got messages from Bollywood actors also, like on Instagram and finally somebody sending me message and like that. So I was so like surprised seeing that and then chatting with for a while. Sophia, I loved your movie. Like that. So it's like a great moment for us. Like even for the director, I think from every industry, like everyone was calling and appreciating. Yeah, I think that is because this movie reached so wide. It's because of Netflix promotion and everyone noticed this and everyone was waiting to watch this movie. When the movie was like released on December 24th, before watching, we were getting messages, like we are going to watch, we are waiting like that. So in that way, I'm very happy to have a partnership with Netflix for this movie. Yeah.
Tell us some of the most interesting messages, surprising ones that you received. You were basically received.
Yes, like Huma Qureshi sent me message and saying, "Oh, Sophia, I just realized you were following me, and I'm so happy. I am very proud. This will be my favorite superhero movie," and like that. Yeah, she was like, I was so happy, like when I heard that message from her. And even from our industry also, like Prithviraj, so many of them were calling me and telling me like, Sophia, you're so proud to see that you backed up such a big project. So like, yes, it's my prestigious project till now, I can say. Yeah. And even Netflix gave it a big space, I think. So I don't think so any Malayalam movie has got such promotion till date. Yeah, that's the way what Netflix was doing for it. Yeah, yes.
Wonderful. Like they say in superhero films, with great power comes great responsibility. So no pressure. We're all looking to see what's next from you. Ashwini, we were talking about long form cinema, and you've created different form factors of content, right? From something like a Bareli Ki Burfi, you're also a documentary filmmaker, and then an anthology like Ankahi Kahaniyan, in which I just absolutely loved. The story that you had directed yourself. What kind of a freedom does a platform like Netflix give to a creator in terms of just playing around with different form factors of content?
I feel a lot of freedom. I should thank Netflix to believe in the idea of Ankahi because on paper, this didn't seem what was happening on paper. Although we had all written it and there was enough material for us to direct, but when the script went to Netflix and to Ronnie Screwvala, who was also co-producing it with Netflix, and Ashi Dua, they said, okay, we understand the intent. We understand that you want to make something completely different. But okay, we leave it up to you and you just take it forward. We trust you. I think that important thing of trust is very, very important between the creators. At this point of time, me directing a film, having a lot of, ifs and buts in my mind, but being sure that, okay, this is what I want to do. And then a platform like Netflix encouraging and telling me, okay, I trust you and let's just go ahead because we understand your vision. So that is something which is very important. I do feel any medium you take, whether it's making a documentary, what we did for Leander Pace or Mahesh Bhupati, or making a feature film, again having a feature film which is led by a woman and then taking that chance. I think every story we tell collectively, it all boils down to the conviction which we have. It's conviction which just takes us forward for 2 years and 3 years. And with that conviction, because we are the only ones who know what is happening, and we are there right from the beginning to the end. It's almost giving birth to a baby and being responsible for that piece of your heart for the longest time. There will be people who will go and come, but the only one who is completely into it is you. So that conviction which you take, and with that conviction, when you make things, when you make movies, you tell your stories, it is bound to have an after effect with your partners, is because they see your conviction, they see your passion, and with that passion you move along. I do feel that the partnership and everyone being on the same page, this word is very, very important, this line, that you all of us have to be on the same page, and then one person drives it, and with that conviction.
So beautifully put. You spoke a lot about conviction, so I'm tempted to ask this question. All of you are not just creators, but also you bring a project to life, right? For a project to come to life, you need to first believe in it, right? And some of the films, that you have created, whether it is Paglet or Minal Murli, would have looked very different on paper, right? Ashwini spoke about convictions, and maybe Guneet, we can start answering this question. What are the filters that you look for when you see something on paper? When does it ring to you that, okay, now this is something that I need to get deeper into?
I think it is extremely intuitive, and our industry is extremely subjective. It is long format, and I have so far produced around 40 films, out of which 25, 27 of them have been first-time directors. So that conviction, or even newer talent, bigger bets on the talent, bigger budgets with the talent. So it is pure intuitive and conviction that I know where I can take this, and I know what we can do. And it is a matter of that conversation. I remember during lunchbox days, I used to just enter a room and say, without question, you would be doing bread and butter work, like big actor and everything, but this you have to do, this is going to change your life. This is how I used to talk to investors. This is going to change your life. They'll be like, who is this person? Why is she coming and telling us this? I was like, I just know it. Now, how do you know it? I mean, it is, you just know the heart of the project, you know the soul of the project, you know what you can do with this and what is the idea of creating this. So I think it just starts from there, and having that confidence in your eyes, in your heart, in your gut, in your soul, is where you sell it, and that's where you raise the money for it, or even go to actors and you're like, this you have to do. Go do everything else that you're doing, but this is going to go somewhere else. And that dream you have to see, internalize, believe in it first, and only then you can have somebody else on board. That I know where this is going, and you have to do everything every day to make sure that it can add a dimension into everybody's career who's part of it.
You make it all sound so simple, but just the sheer number of amazing creations you've backed based on that intuition is staggering. Sophia, how does the process work for you? When you see something on paper, what's your decision-making process?
Yeah, for me, basically the content should be exciting. That is how we start the project. And then I look for a good team. That is how I look. And even, yes, newcomers, mostly even now I have some projects which I'm doing with new directors only. Yeah, for me, I don't look, I need an experienced person. Only think the person should be talented. And that is how we take on board, and we sit and discuss, and we choose the right people. I should be confident in the script first, in the content, and then that is how I take it forward always. Then, what I said, we go for a good team. And the process is big. From the beginning till the end, we are there involved in everything, not like sitting like a financer, not like that. We involved in the whole project from the production side, whatever we can do. Because Malayalam is a very small industry, and there are certain limits for us to do. So that is how, when I did Minal Murli also, it's my decision. We wanted a action director from US. We brought it from Hollywood, and then some things we take initiative, like that. So that is the thing. The whole process, we are involved, and we take it forward like that. Yeah.
I love what you said about, the team has to be great. It's almost like you're investors in the startup community, isn't it? So I love that.
Each project is a startup. It's like setting up a company, and each project is a startup.
But is that, for you also, Guneet, how much is it about, since you mentioned startup, right? In that world, founders have their own idiosyncrasies. When you see them, you know the kind of people they are. How much for you is it about the people creating the film as much as it is about the material?
It's very important to be able to. I spend a lot of time with the core, with the director, writer, just because that's the team that's creating it. And I think there has to be a temperament check and intention check and an intervention now and then, because you can get overwhelmed. You can get also too excited about something. You can also, so it's a process. I mean, and for me to be able to, especially with the first time directors, for me to be able to say, okay, we are working together on something, I think it's a 6 months process. It's not instant. It's just like, okay, this sounds great. And then let's chat, let's talk, let's explore. And from 4 to 6 months, you know each other more. You have to spend a lot of time. There's no shortcut to that. You know, we're not making identical FMCG products. You know, so jiska ek bar formula set ho gaya and ab chapo. You can't. You know, so each one of them is so, and you explore so much between the conversations. So you spend a lot of time knowing each other. It's truly a partnership. Not that I can do anything without a writer director, you know. So it comes from there. I can just further add my 2 bits to it and hope that they are taken, and hope that we can, you know, work together on this. But that's largely the process, you know. And I've always said that long format, there's no shortcut. And then you hope after 2 years, after 3 years of your work, it lands and you're still relevant. So I think having those conversations are really important. Their worldview, their exposure, it's really important to be constantly trying to be on the same page.
Their worldview, their exposure is so critical, isn't it? I want to do something fun, before we close this. All of you, like I said, are makers of content, not just creators. I thought it'll be fun if, you were to pitch, think of this as a scenario where you're pitching to Netflix. Think of it as an elevator pitch. You have like a few seconds to pitch the concept. Maybe Ashwini, we'll start with you. If you had to pitch Minal Murali to Netflix, how would you pitch it?
I think it would be, I would make like a complete board, like a mood board and everything. I'll make like a Bible. And then I would say that this is something which has never been done before in India. And you have to have a look at it. And we are putting in all our passion. And I have to be very excited about it. I have to show my passion. And when I show my passion is when Netflix would be excited about it. So, and because I'm so passionate, I would keep calling and make sure that I make it happen. Even if it takes time.
Passion with persistence.
Yeah, persistence, I think, is very important to not give up.
That's a deadly combination, isn't it? Guneet, if you had to pitch Bareli Ki Barfi to Netflix, how would you go about it?
I'd be just like, बहुत amazing actors हैं, बहुत amazing माहौल है, बहुत amazing writer director है, ये तो कर ही लो. And of course, I'd make the PNL. I would go in with a PNL and look through all the numbers and also say that we are shooting in a place, वहाँ पे subsidy है, and we are, I think what I took back from Bareli Ki Barfi is the atmosphere of it, It was so tapped into the atmosphere of it and the performances. I mean, some of the best actors on it with the amazing Ashwini. So yeah, great team. So more than anything, it's a great team, and definitely the numbers make sense on that one. So yeah.
And if you were to pitch Lunchbox to Netflix, how would you do?
Yeah, I'll say that this is something different in Malayalam, and the content is very exciting, and we have some leading artist who's going to work in it, and we have a great team. That's what I'll be saying. Yeah, yes. And I'll say that this is this content is very exciting for me. I love it to make it like that. I'll be expressing.
I want to help because I had pitched Lunchbox, I think 500 plus times around the world. So I will tell you my elevator pitch just so. So I'd be like, I just have to remember it. Give me a hot second. There are 8 million lunch boxes that are delivered hot every day from housewives to their husbands at work, and there are 8,000 uneducated dabbawalas who take these boxes and deliver it with their own system. Harvard has done a study on this. 99.99% they are correct. The error is only 1%. So the 0.001%, which means one dabba. So while that is a mistake, we as filmmakers look at it as a miracle. What happens when one misdelivered dabba goes from a housewife who's in middle of her life and to this man who's retiring and is not really, passionate about life forward, and this one misdelivered dabba with notes in it start a conversation and start making this world a beautiful place. So it's a little miracle of a film. It's all the miracles we miss every day. It's those little miracles that we don't see because we're so busy going from home to office and back. So we're celebrating that one miracle.
Only that she can say it, yeah. Only she can say it like that.
I pitched it. I genuinely pitched it on elevators, on roadsides, on everywhere in Berlin and in Canada and Dubai, in every possible room. I have pitched it, even when it was getting financed, and then after it was made because nobody wanted to sell it because nobody wanted to buy it because there was no music and no songs in it. So you're like, hum kaise beche ise in the Hindi film scenario. So I kept pitching it, because it is a love story and you have to see that love story. It is not the regular love story. So yeah, but the audience understood.
Completely convinced you're the nerd of cinema, because nobody will start with how many million lunchboxes are being delivered. Market sizing and then sort of go with that. But what's the craziest response you got to that in all these pitches?
Oh God. Dekho Guneet. तुम बहुत अच्छे इंसान हो. You're a really nice person. We really like you. You have this beautiful energy and everything. But there is a market study that only 16 to, and unfortunately at that point of time, Netflix is not in India. And there's a market study that only from 16 to 21 years age group, people go to cinemas. So the first footprint of word of mouth is so important for cinema. That is 16 to 21 year old and morning shows, and they bunk colleges, and there is a culture of going to cinemas. There's no music. How will we ever promote this? How will we even cut a trailer for this without a song? And now that 16 to 21 years, even if somebody goes, what will they think of this 40-something love story, which is happening mostly on voiceover? Right. So there is nothing. They don't even meet. So एक घंटी तो डाल देते हैं एंड में, थोड़ी तो होप दे दो कि वो लोग मिले नहीं मिले. So I think you should not release this. This is bad debt. Because nobody will come see it. Even if they come see it, they'll not understand it. And even if they understand, and this is really meant for people who come for Raju Hirani films in their 40s, 50s, who come in week 3, who come in week 4. Such people, as per our market study, only come out of their homes for 2 or 3 films in a year. And definitely they'll not come out for Lunchbox. So you should not even waste the money that you've raised and spent is waste. But raising more money for marketing and hoping that all of this will be recovered is you're a very nice person, but you're overestimating.
I like that he started and ended with "you're a nice person."
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be, of course, done politely.
Right. We usually end the show by asking our guest what he or she is watching, reading, or listening to these days. Actually, starting with you, what are you watching on Netflix these days?
I just finished The Maid. Then I finished Emily in Paris. I love those kind. Then I finished the 2nd season of Valeria. And I really like those kinds. Then I think I've put a lot of watch list. I finished Lost Child.
Yes.
I finished that. Yeah.
Oh,
finished that.
Guneet,
I
want to watch the Tinder swap. I want to watch that.
I also just finished Emily in Paris. Really fun show. But I'm reading autobiography of a yogi.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Reading right now, what am I reading? Actually, no, I've not been reading much nowadays. Yeah.
Okay. What are you watching, Sophia, these days?
Yeah, I just finished watching Inventing Anna, that one. Yeah, then Ye Kali Kali Aankein. Yeah, these two. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Any of you listen to podcasts much?
Yes, there is one sustainability podcast called Be Better.
Yes.
Just to even know how regular life, we can be a little better in our sustainability and footprint. So yeah, just day to day it's cool. Yeah.
And nerdy. Yeah.
Fully nerdy. Yeah. Stats.
Thank you so much. It was an absolutely amazing experience listening to you guys, and good luck with all the inspirational.
Thank you,
work that you're
Karthik.
doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice talking
Thank
to you.
you.
So that was our show this week. I hope you liked it. And if you did, and if you're a fan of the show, hey, I have something to ask of you. If you are listening to the show on Spotify or Apple right now, please do rate us on the respective app. It helps a lot in others discovering the show. And if you have any feedback on the show, I would love to hear from you. You can send it to filterkoffeepodcast@gmail.com. Happy listening, and see you next week with another episode.
You're the people pleaser, right? Or then desperately seeking the one? Oh wait, you're the one who doesn't think they're ever good enough. So much drama. And for what? Is it doing you any good? Listen to me. I'm Chetna, your favorite positive action coach. Yes, I'm the one who has been dropping all those truth bombs on every episode. And it's time you learn to say no to drama. That's also what my podcast is called. And a new episode is out every Monday and Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, as well as all major podcasting platforms.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.